In some parts of India, there is too much water, especially during the rainy season. This can cause floods. In other parts of India, there is not enough water. These places can be very dry and face droughts. Farmers in these areas can't grow enough food, and people struggle to get drinking water. So, the problem is that water is not evenly spread across the country. A national water grid is a big idea that can help solve this problem. It's like creating a network, or grid, of rivers, canals, and pipelines to move water from places where there is too much water to places where there is too little water. Think of it like this. If you have two water tanks at home, and one is full while the other is empty, you can connect them with a pipe to balance the water. This is the same idea, but on a national scale. In the 1970s, two people came up with big ideas to create a national water grid. Let's look at them. Dr. K.L. Rao's National Water Grid Proposal. Who was Dr. K.L. Rao? He was an expert in water and rivers. His idea, he suggested building a big network of canals, man-made rivers, and pipes to connect all the rivers in India. This way, water could be moved easily from wet areas to dry areas. Why didn't it happen? This idea was too expensive and too complicated. Building such a big network was not possible with the technology or money India had at that time. Captain Dastur's Garland Canal. Who was Captain Dastur? He was another person with a big idea for water management. His idea. He suggested building canals in the shape of a garland, a circle, or chain. These canals would connect rivers all around India, moving water from areas with plenty to areas that need more. Why didn't it happen? Like Dr. Rao's idea, this plan was also too costly and difficult to build. The government's new plan, 1980s. Even though these early ideas didn't work, people didn't stop thinking about how to move water around the country. In 1980, the government came up with a new plan called the National Perspective Plan, NPP. This was a big, long-term idea for water management. It had two parts. Peninsular Rivers Development. This is about the rivers in southern India. In this part of the plan, the idea is to connect rivers like the Krishna, Kaveri, and Godavari to move water to the dry areas in the south. Himalayan Rivers Development. This is about the rivers in northern India, like the Ganga, Yamuna, and Brahmaputra. The plan was to figure out how to move extra water from these rivers to dry areas in northern and western India. What is the National Water Development Agency, NWDA? In 1982, the government created an office called the National Water Development Agency, NWDA. This agency's job is to study whether it's possible to move water between different river basins. A river basin is the area of land where water from rain or melting snow flows into one main river. The NWDA is funded by the government, and its job is to study how to connect rivers and whether it can really work. Expanding the work of NWDA. The NWDA started with studying the peninsular rivers, southern rivers, but later it was asked to study the Himalayan rivers too. Let's break this down. 1990 to 1991. The NWDA was asked to study not just the rivers in the south, but also the rivers in the north, Himalayan rivers. 2006, the government asked the NWDA to do more than just studying. They asked NWDA to make detailed project reports, DPRs. A DPR is like a very detailed plan that explains how a project would be built, how much it would cost, and how it would work. NWDA was also asked to look at intra-basin water transfers. This means moving water within the same river basin, within one area. For example, if two rivers are close to each other, NWDA studies if water can be moved between them. The NWDA's job expanded even more. Now, it also has to study how to move water within the same state. This is called intrastate links. So, if a state like Maharashtra or Karnataka wants to move water between its rivers, the NWDA helps make the plan. The government added two more jobs for NWDA. One is to study new ways to use water better, and the other is to help with water conservation, saving water. Why is all of this important? Farming. Many farmers depend on rain to water their crops. If there is not enough rain, crops die and there's less food. By moving water to dry areas, farmers can grow more food. Drinking water. In many parts of India, especially in villages, people don't have enough clean water to drink. Sharing water between areas can help everyone get enough drinking water. Floods and droughts. Some places have too much water, floods, and others have too little, droughts. By balancing the water, we can reduce both floods and droughts. Example to help you understand. Let's say you have 2 water tanks at home. Tank A is full of water, and it's overflowing. Tank B is almost empty, and you don't have enough water to wash dishes or cook. What would you do? You would probably connect the 2 tanks with a pipe to move some water from tank A to tank B, right? This way, both tanks would have enough water. Now, think of tank A as a river that has too much water, and tank B as an area that doesn't have enough water. A national water grid is like that pipe, but on a much bigger scale. It helps move water between rivers and areas to balance things out. Final summary. The National Water Grid is a plan to move water from places with too much water to places with too little water. Early ideas in the 1970s were too expensive and difficult to build. In the 1980s, the government made a new plan, and in 1982, the National Water Development Agency, NWDA, was created to study how to make this work. Over the years, the NWDA's job has grown, and now it studies how to connect rivers across the country and even within states. The goal is to make sure everyone has enough water, no matter where they live in India. Okay, let's break this down step by step in the easiest way possible. Imagine we are talking about an organization, NWDA, that deals with water resources in India, like rivers, and how water can be shared or moved between different places. I'll explain each point one by one in very simple words. Hash A, surveying and studying reservoirs and rivers. NWDA has to look at places where we can store water, like big tanks, reservoirs. They also look at rivers and see if it's possible to connect them together to share water between different parts of India. So they do surveys, looking closely at these places to check if these ideas will work. Example. Imagine you have a bowl of water and a cup. NWDA is checking if you can pour water from the bowl into the cup without spilling or wasting it. B. Finding extra water to share. They study rivers in India to find out how much water each river has. After making sure that each state gets enough water, they check if there is extra water that can be given to other states. Example, you have 2 bottles of juice. If your friend has enough juice, you see if you can give some extra juice to another friend who has less. C. Preparing feasibility reports. NWDA prepares reports to check if it is possible to actually go ahead with connecting rivers or other water-related projects. They write down all the details about how the project would work. Example, before building a treehouse, you write down what you need, how it will look, and if the tree can hold it. NWDA does something similar for river projects. D. Creating detailed project plans. If everything looks good, NWDA then makes very detailed plans for how the project, like linking 2 rivers, will happen. But first, they have to talk to the states involved and get their approval, agreement. Example. If you want to build a bridge between 2 gardens, you first ask both garden owners if they agree, and then you make a proper plan to build the bridge. E. Helping states with their water projects. Sometimes states come up with their own ideas for managing water. NWDA helps them by preparing reports to see if their ideas will work. But again, before moving forward, NWDA asks all the states sharing the water to agree on the plan. Example. If your friend wants to make a tunnel to move water from one place to another, you first check if it's a good idea. But before you start, you make sure both your friends agree. F. Building, fixing, and improving water projects. NWDA doesn't just make plans. They also help with building, fixing, or improving water-related projects. They can do it themselves or ask someone else, like another company, to do the work. Example. If you're fixing a water pipe in the playground, you can either fix it yourself or ask someone who knows more about pipes to do it for you. G. Managing funds for water projects. NWDA can borrow money or get money from others for these water projects. They also make sure that this money is kept safe and used properly for the projects. Example, if you are saving money to buy toys, you make sure it's kept safe and spent only when you need it. NWDA does this with money for water projects. H. Doing anything needed to achieve their goals. NWDA can do anything else that helps them reach their goals of improving water management and connecting rivers. Example: if you're building a treehouse, you might also need to buy tools or paint. Anything that helps you build that treehouse, even if it's not directly about building, is still important. In summary, NWDA checks if rivers can be connected and if water can be shared between different places. They help plan big water projects and also check if states are getting enough water. NWDA also helps build or fix water projects and make sure the money for these projects is managed well. This organization's main job is to make sure everyone in India gets enough water and that we don't waste it. They also work to connect rivers, like making sure water can flow from one place to another where it's needed. Let's break this information down into simple steps. Benefits of interlinking rivers projects. 1. Irrigation. These projects can irrigate a total of 35 million hectares of land. A hectare is about the size of a football field. 25 million hectares will be irrigated using surface water, water from rivers, lakes, etc. 10 million hectares will be irrigated using groundwater, water from underground sources like wells. This would increase India's total irrigation potential from 140 million hectares to 175 million hectares. Example: imagine having more water available to grow crops on more land, improving food production for farmers. 2. Hydropower generation. These projects will help produce 34,000 megawatts, MW, of hydropower. Example: this is like producing enough electricity to power millions of homes, factories, and schools. 3. Other benefits. Flood control, reducing the risk of floods by managing water flow better. Navigation, making rivers easier to travel on, which can help transport goods. Water supply, more water for drinking and domestic use. Fisheries, boosting fish farming and fishing activities. Salinity and pollution control, reducing the saltiness and pollution in certain water areas to improve water quality. Example: think of these as bonus benefits that improve the lives of people by making water more available and cleaner and reducing damage from floods. Supreme Court judgment on interlinking of rivers. 1. In 2002, a case was filed in the Supreme Court of India asking for action on the networking of rivers, another way of saying interlinking of rivers. 2. On February 27, 2012, the Supreme Court gave its decision asking for an appropriate body, an organization or committee, to be created to plan, build, and implement this program. 3. The aim is to make sure that the interlinking of rivers benefits the whole country. Example: imagine a court telling the government to create a team of experts to figure out how to connect rivers and ensure that the project helps everyone in the country. Summary of benefits. More land can be irrigated, 35 million hectares. India's total irrigation potential will increase to 175 million hectares. 34,000 megawatts of electricity will be generated from hydropower. Additional benefits like flood control, water supply, better navigation, fisheries, and pollution control will also help improve lives across the country. The Supreme Court has backed this idea, saying the country needs to take action to plan and implement these river projects for the nation's overall development. Let's explain this in the simplest way possible, step by step. Creation of the Special Committee for Interlinking of Rivers. 1. Union Cabinet approval. On July 24, 2014, the Union Cabinet, a group of top government ministers, agreed to create a special committee for the interlinking of rivers, ILR. This was done after a Supreme Court judgment in February 2012, which said that the country should move forward with the interlinking of rivers. 2. Official formation. The Ministry of Water Resources, MOWR, officially formed the Special Committee on September 23, 2014, through a Gazette notification, an official government document. 3. Meetings of the Special Committee, Since its creation, the Special Committee has held 13 meetings between October 2014 and July 2017 to discuss the progress and plans for interlinking rivers. These meetings were held on various dates: October 17, 2014, January 6, March 19, 2015, and so on. Subcommittees. Under the Special Committee. To make the work more organized, the Special Committee decided to create smaller subcommittees to handle specific tasks. These subcommittees were formed by the Ministry of Water Resources on February 13, 2015. Here are the 4 subcommittees. 1. Subcommittee On. Its job was to do a comprehensive evaluation, thorough check, of all the studies and reports available on the interlinking of rivers, ILR. Example: imagine checking all the homework done so far to see what is useful and what needs improvement. 2. Subcommittee 2. This team focused on finding the best plan for interlinking the rivers. Example: like creating different ideas on how to link rivers and choosing the best one. 3. Subcommittee 3. Its task was to restructure the National Water Development Agency, NWDA, the organization responsible for interlinking rivers. Example: think of it as reorganizing a team to make sure they work better. 4. Subcommittee 4, previously called the Consensus Group. This team was responsible for building agreements between states. Since rivers often cross state borders, states need to agree on how to share water. Example: think of it as getting all your friends to agree on how to share a big pizza, where each person gets their fair share. Progress of the subcommittees. The Subcommittee 3 finished its work and submitted a report to the Minister of Water Resources on September 5, 2015. The Subcommittee 1 has held 7 meetings, and the Subcommittee 2 has held 10 meetings to discuss their tasks and progress. In summary, the government formed a special committee in 2014 to implement the Interlinking of Rivers project. To make the process smoother, they created 4 smaller subcommittees to handle specific tasks like evaluating studies, finding the best plan, and making sure states agree on the project. These subcommittees have been working through regular meetings to complete their tasks and help the Interlinking of Rivers project move forward. This setup helps manage the complex work of linking rivers across the country, which can improve water supply, reduce floods, and support agriculture. Let's break this down even further, explaining each part clearly and simply. Shash Group on Intrastate River Links. 1. What is the Group on Intrastate River Links? A group was created by the Ministry of Water Resources, MOWR, on March 12, 2015 to focus on intrastate river linking. Intrastate river linking means connecting rivers that are within the same state. This is different from interstate river linking, where rivers from different states are connected. 2. Who was in charge? The group was led by Shri A.D. Mohil, who used to be the chairman of the Central Water Commission. The Central Water Commission is a government body that deals with water resources and river management in India. 3. What was the job of this group? Their job was to study and come up with plans to connect rivers within a state, so that water can be shared more efficiently within that state. For example, if one part of a state has too much water, like during floods, and another part of the same state has too little water, like during a drought, this group would study how to link the rivers to help balance the water supply. 4. What did they achieve? The group finished its work and submitted a report on what they found and suggested. This report was given to the Secretary of the Ministry of Water Resources on May 28, 2015. The Secretary is the senior official in charge of the ministry. NABARD funding under PMKSY AIBP. 1. What is NABARD? NABARD stands for the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. It's a government bank that gives loans and funds for projects that help farmers, agriculture, and rural development in India. 2. What is PMKSY AIBP? Stands for Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. This is a government program that focuses on irrigation, bringing water to farms to help crops grow better. AIBP stands for Accelerated Irrigation Benefits Program. It is a part of PMKSY that focuses on speeding up the work on irrigation projects. Through NWDA's role in this funding, the National Water Development Agency, NWDA, was chosen to manage and borrow money for these important irrigation projects. NWDA acts as the middleman. They borrow the money from NABARD and distribute it to the state governments. This money is used for projects that help get water to farmers faster, especially in areas where irrigation is needed urgently. 4. Agreement with NABARD. On September 6, 2016, an agreement was signed between the Ministry of Water Resources, NWDA, and NABARD. The purpose of this agreement was to make sure that the central government's share of the money needed for these irrigation projects was available. This money helps fund irrigation systems like canals, dams, and water storage areas that help bring water to fields. 5. How is the money used? The loan given by NABARD is distributed to the states and the Polavaram Project Authority. The Polavaram Project is a big dam project in Andhra Pradesh, which is part of this funding program. The funds are used to finish these projects quickly, so that farmers can get water for their crops and improve agriculture in the country. In very simple terms, 1. The Group on Intrastate River Links was created to study how to connect rivers within a state to better share water where it's needed. They finished their work and gave their findings to the government in 2015. 2. NABARD is a bank that helps fund water and farm-related projects. The NWDA borrows money from NABARD and gives it to state governments to help complete important water projects. These projects are part of a larger program called PMKSY AIB, which helps bring water to farmers for irrigation, improving crop growth. An agreement to manage this money was signed in 2016. These projects aim to make sure farmers have enough water for their fields, especially in places that need better irrigation systems. The funds and loans from NABARD help speed up the construction of these systems. Let me explain everything as if you are hearing it for the first time, in the simplest way possible. What happened? An agreement MOU was signed between two Indian states, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh MP, and the government of India. This agreement is about managing water better, especially by connecting rivers. Why is this important? India has many rivers that flow across different states. Some rivers have a lot of water, while others don't have enough. Interlinking of rivers means connecting these rivers so water can be shared better. This helps areas with less water get more water, which can be useful for farming, drinking, and other needs. What is the Modified PKC ERCP? The Modified PKC ERCP is the name of a project to connect rivers. It combines two smaller projects into one, the PT Kalasand Chambal link. These are 3 rivers in India, the ERCP, Eastern Rajasthan Canal Project. This is about building canals in Rajasthan to move water from one place to another. By joining these 2 projects, water from areas with more rivers, like in MP, can be shared with areas that need more water, like in Rajasthan. Who signed the agreement? Officials from both states, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, and the government of India signed the agreement. They agreed to work together to create a plan for how these rivers will be connected and how water will be shared. What is a DPR? A DPR is a detailed project report. It is like a blueprint or plan. Before starting a big project, they need to plan everything carefully. This DPR will explain how the rivers will be connected, what machines or canals they need to build, how much money and time it will take. Why is this special? This is the second big river project under the Interlinking of Rivers program by the Indian government. It's a big deal because it will help both Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh get more water, especially for farming and people's daily needs. Who was there? The Union Minister of Jal Shakti, Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, he's in charge of water resources in India, was there. The chief ministers of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh were also present. Important officials like Dr. Rajesh Kumar Rajora from MP, Shet Abhay Kumar from Rajasthan, and Santant Debashri Mukherjee from the Government of India signed the document. Example to understand. Think of two buckets of water. One bucket is full, like rivers in MP, and the other bucket is almost empty, like in Rajasthan. To make sure both buckets have enough water, you use a pipe to connect them. Now, the water can move between the buckets. This pipe represents the interlinking of rivers in this project. Extra information. The Interlinking of Rivers, ILRR program, is an ongoing effort by India to better manage its water resources. The goal is to reduce water shortages in some areas by moving water from one river to another. In simple words, this project will help share water between Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh by connecting rivers. This will improve water supply for farming, drinking, and other uses in both states. Explanation of the Parbati-Kalasindh-Chambal (PKC) Link and Eastern Rajasthan Canal Project (ERCP) integration. Consensus building and cooperation. Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, the Union Minister of Jal Shakti, led efforts to bring together the states of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh for a major water sharing project. The goal was to reach an agreement between both states on how to manage and share water from the Chambal River Basin, which spans both states. This cooperation between the states is an example of cooperative federalism. It shows how states can work together under the leadership of the Prime Minister of India to solve common water challenges. It's a success story for interstate cooperation. Background of the PKC Link Project. The Parbati-Kalasindh-Chambal PKC Link Project is part of the National Perspective Plan (NPP), a long-term plan for interlinking rivers in India. A feasibility report for this project was prepared in 2004 and shared with the state governments. This report showed that linking these rivers could improve the use of water in the region. In 2019, Rajasthan proposed the Eastern Rajasthan Canal Project, ERCP, to use water more efficiently in the region. After Rajasthan's proposal, discussions started about integrating the PKC Link project with the ERCP. This means combining both projects to better manage water resources. Task Force discussions. The Task Force for Interlinking of Rivers discussed the idea of integrating the PKC link with the ERCP in its 11th and 12th meetings held in 2019. These meetings involved discussions with both Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh to ensure everyone agreed on how to proceed. Approval of the modified PKC ERCP link project. Because of the growing importance of the project and its potential benefits, the Special Committee for Interlinking of Rivers, SCILR, reviewed the modified PKC ERCP plan in its 20th meeting held on December 13, 2022. The committee gave its approval to the modified PKC ERCP link and made it a priority project under the National Perspective Plan. This means that the integration of PKC and ERCP is now officially recognized as one of India's most important water linking projects, ensuring better use of water resources in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Key benefits: joint development and inter-basin water transfers. Both states can now jointly manage and share water resources from different river basins. Optimized water use. Combining these projects ensures that water is used more efficiently, especially in areas that need it most, such as Eastern Rajasthan. Cooperative federalism. The success of this project shows how states can work together with the central government to solve complex water problems. In simple terms, the PKC Link project aims to connect three rivers, Parbati, Kalasindh, and Chambal, to better manage water in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. After Rajasthan proposed the ERCP to manage water more efficiently, both states and the central government agreed to combine the PKC link with the ERCP. This project was approved as a priority under the National Water Management Plan and shows how cooperation between states and the central government can solve water sharing problems.